Welcome to This Explainer. Look, today we're diving into something truly game-changing, the Diaspora Endowment. Picture successful Black diaspora professionals, people like Amina, a tech exec in the UAE, or Kwame, an investment banker over in London. They're already sending money back home to Africa. But what if we could take those remittances and flip them from temporary relief into a permanent, multi-generational legacy for brilliant students? Let's get right into it.
I want you to ask yourself a seriously powerful question. What if your donations could last forever? Imagine we completely stop handing out one-off scholarships that just inevitably dry up, and instead, we build an institutional system where your money literally never stops educating ambitious students. We're talking about a massive shift here, moving away from a mindset of temporary charity and stepping into permanent generational wealth building.
And honestly, here's the crazy part. The money, it's already there. We are talking over $1 billion. That's the exact amount sent annually in remittances to countries like Nigeria alone. So the data absolutely proves that the financial capacity, along with that deep emotional drive from the diaspora to give back to their communities, is 100% real. The bottleneck isn't a lack of funds, it's a lack of trusted institutional structures to actually hold and grow that wealth. Now, to understand why we desperately need a new system, we kind of have to look at why the current one is failing. Right now, traditional charity models are basically a leaky bucket. They rely way too heavily on individual donors, and the second donor fatigue sets in, boom, the whole structure collapses. Throw in a profound lack of professional governance and this overdependence on government funding that just can't keep up with the soaring demand, and yeah, we're failing talented students because the bucket simply can't hold water long term. So, we need a massive paradigm shift. The old way? It's one-time charity, it's super vulnerable, and the impact is strictly short-term. But the new way, the endowment model, is a completely different beast. Here, the core capital is fiercely protected. It's professionally invested, and only the returns from those investments are used to fund the scholarships. The original money is never touched. It just sits there, safely generating more money. To put it as simply as possible, we need to stop handing apples and start planting an orchard. Think about it. Charity is handing an apple to a hungry student. Sure, it's great for today, but it does absolutely nothing for them tomorrow. An endowment? That's planting the orchard. The roots are protected, the trees grow, and the fruit feeds new students year after year, decade after decade. Okay, so how does this actually work in practice? It's basically a 4-step machine. Step 1, Black diaspora professionals like Amina and Kwame contribute their money. Step 2, that capital is professionally structured and invested. Step 3, the profits from those investments pay for the scholarships every single year. And Step 4, the original capital stays locked up, totally protected, and continues to grow. It's an incredible engine where your single dollar goes on this continuous, looping journey to pay a student's tuition repeatedly. Now, why is this specifically so crucial for Africa? Well, the context here is super unique. In Africa, education isn't just about getting a personal degree. It's literally a family's survival strategy. It represents economic mobility for the entire family. But let's be real, governments just cannot fully fund tuition anymore, and the student loan systems are incredibly weak. On top of that, the diaspora really wants to help, but they strongly prefer private, highly transparent structures over throwing money into public institutions. To make this work securely, we can actually break down all the complex legal jargon into a super simple blueprint that anyone can understand. You basically need a multi-layer structure. Think of the parent holdco as the overseer. Then you have the nonprofit foundation, which acts as the face, dealing directly with the public and the students. The investment SPV is the vault. And finally, the technology company is the engine, running the day-to-day operations. Let's zoom in on that vault for a second. SPV, or Special Purpose Vehicle, I know it sounds super intimidating, but it really just means an independent legal structure. Think of it as a highly secure, locked bank vault. Its one and only job is to shield the hard-earned money of our diaspora professionals from any outside operational risks, lawsuits, or interference. It strictly preserves the wealth and manages those investments safely. Building this kind of institution requires a very specific balance. Operationally, it doesn't need heavy physical factories or massive machinery. The real value sits in trust, tech, and governance. So it's asset-light. But financially, it requires some heavy lifting. The institution needs a massive upfront pool of money to ensure that the percentage returns on those investments actually generate enough cash to fully fund those scholarships long-term. And that right there is exactly how the machine pays for itself over time. It doesn't just survive on donations. The revenue comes primarily from those recurring investment returns. But it can also pull in income through operational management fees, offering advisory services to other universities, and teaming up with corporate CSR programs. It relies on a rock-solid, sustainable financial model instead of constantly begging for top-ups. And because the demand for education is universal across the continent, this model is incredibly scalable. You start the orchard in Nigeria, sure, but that exact same structure can be replicated by Black diaspora communities to support students in Ghana, Kenya, Rwanda, South Africa, Francophone West Africa. It goes on. It's a true Pan-African solution to a Pan-African challenge. But we do have to address the elephant in the room here: currency depreciation. Look, if you raise millions but hold it in a depreciating local currency, your purchasing power literally vanishes into thin air. That's why the most successful structures aggressively hedge against this risk. They severely limit local currency exposure and rely heavily on USD-denominated investments and offshore reserve structures. That is how you protect the true, enduring value of the endowment. Which is exactly why cross-border incorporation is such a powerful tool here. Setting up holding entities in major global hubs like Mauritius, the UK, or the UAE provides the structural safety net that diaspora professionals absolutely demand before they send their wealth back home. It guarantees better investor confidence, much easier global banking access, and crucially, an unshakable perception of strong, reliable governance. When we analyze the risks of building this institution, yes, legalities and currency definitely matter. But there is one massive factor that outweighs absolutely everything else: governance and trust. That is your biggest risk by a mile. In this entire model, if trust collapses, the donations collapse entirely. End of story. As the research beautifully puts it, trust is the currency, governance is the core asset. Having completely independent trustees, enforcing strict external audits, and keeping everything crystal clear and transparent, these aren't just nice-to-haves. They are the absolute bedrock of this entire financial institution. Without them, the whole machine just grinds to a halt. So, how do we practically guarantee that trust? We use technology as the ultimate verifier. By using tech as the engine, an African professional, whether that's Amina in the UAE or Kwame in London, can literally open an app on their phone and experience absolute donor transparency. They can check real-time investment reports and track exactly which brilliant student their initial investment is putting through university today. It's incredible.
It is so vital to deeply understand the endgame here. Unlike a traditional tech startup that's just looking for a quick buyout or an IPO, there is no startup exit here. This is an institutional asset platform. It's built purely for generational wealth building. We are talking about establishing a Pan-African legacy that will outlive all of us, continuously paying dividends in human capital for centuries to come.
Look, the data is unequivocally clear. The demand from students is proven, and the financial structure of the endowment is incredibly sound. You now know exactly how this machine works, from the small seeds of a single donation to the vast, lasting orchard of an endowment. So the only question left is, are you ready to stop handing out apples and help us actually plant the orchard? If this bold vision of sustainable, Black-led generational wealth excites you, please don't just watch. Reach out, get involved right now, and let's start building this institution together. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I can't wait to see the incredible legacy we build.